Hello everyone, welcome to the Pushing Horizon podcast. This is your host S. Most people spend their lives avoiding pain, including me. Up until recently, I was so happy to live in my bubble and I did almost everything to not get out of my comfort zone. But then I started talking to all these ultra runners and they do the quite opposite. They sign up for it, they lean into it, and they find meaning into every brutal mile. Today's guest shows what it really takes to go beyond the marathon, to step into the unknown, and to embrace suffering as a path of self discovery. This conversation isn't about the medals or finish times, it's about the grit, the mental battle, and the kind of honesty that comes only when you have been broken down and kept going. It's about turning setbacks into fuel, using every failure as a stepping stone, and refusing to let fear decide how far you can go. If you think running is about speed, maybe think again. This episode is a deep dive into what it really means to push through pain, test your limit, and come out to the other side changed. So let's get right into it, and please let me introduce to our guest today. Hello, Abby. Welcome to the show, and I'm so glad that I got to know you before the recording started, and we chatted a lot. So welcome to the show, and thank you for the time.
Thanks. I'm more than happy to be here for sure.
Let's get right into the basic. Can you please give us a quick introduction about yourself? Who is Abby?
Well, I'm still trying to figure her out, always. I honestly, I feel like every race I do, I kind of figure out, I like unlock a piece of me. It's like I level up. But I'm Abby Kamal. I've been an athlete pretty much my whole life, and I started ultra running officially a little over 2 years ago. So I'm kind of fresh, but I've been running since I was 13. So I've been running all my life.
And you said you have been running all your life and you started from 13 and now you're into this endurance sports, right? Which is pretty much like a big dog. This is not
Yeah.
like a small marathon things and all those kind of things. So
Yeah.
where did this drive for the endurance run came from? And was it like you said you ran from 13, but when you started running, did you have this thing in mind that, oh, I'm going to be ultra runner?
Honestly, I didn't even know you could physically run 100 miles until about 3 years ago. I didn't even think, like, we don't, that's not a casual conversation you have at the grocery store. Right.
Yes.
And there's not, and also like ultra runners, we're like, I don't know what the percentage is. We're so tiny of the 1% that even runs marathons. So
Yeah.
we're not like all over the place like a lot of half marathon or marathon runners. But I started running. I was telling you earlier about my lung. So when I was 2.5, I had my upper lobe on my right side removed. And after that, my dad really wanted to make sure that I was not a weak kid, not a weak adult growing up too. I worked really hard on building that strength for my lungs, and that's truly what like got me into running. Was there's a lot of other factors too, but that really did get me into running, was trying to make sure that my body was equipped to just breathe, to just inhale and exhale. I played soccer my whole life, and I so badly, when I think I was 13, I think it was around that time where I started to actually like really get into running. I so badly wanted to play high school soccer. It was like a dream of mine. It was like as a kid, I was like, oh, that's it. You made it. Like if you're on the varsity team in high
Yeah.
school. And as a 13-year-old, I Googled the current coach for our local team, and I found his email and I emailed him. And, my email at that time was like Kamalian Soccer 13. It was like, it was like this little kid, like,
Yeah.
I heart soccer. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like, I'm sure he got that email and is like, what is this? And I was emailing him, asking him, how, as a 13-year-old, I would like to make the varsity team. How do I do so? And he, bless his heart, he emailed me back and he said, this is our required time for the mile. You have to run this much or this is the time for 2 miles. You need to be able to do toe touches, all this stuff. So he sent me all that. And as a kid, I was like, all right, I can work on that. I can work on my mile time. I didn't have a watch. I didn't have anything. I just knew I had my parents drive their car around the neighborhood so that I could map out based on see how much a mile would be. And so that I could just map that out and do that over and over. And So my running journey kind of, it started medically, and then it also kind of pushed into just who I am as a person, like internally. And I'm just super competitive, and I love being active. I love it. I loved soccer, and I think a lot of soccer players turn into runners. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's how it started.
that is a different kind of endurance sports where you run for 90 minutes, but you need to be very active
Yeah.
and fit. It's very hard and demanding job because I follow Manchester United and I've been following them for so long. So
Yeah.
it's a hard sport. And first question is, did you make to the varsity team or no? After you started running, or that
Oh,
was like a gone?
I sat on the bench. So high school soccer in my area, our soccer team is super competitive. I think their most recent female team just went to like nationals and they won. They were like on ESPN or something. There was like a huge deal. Yeah, they're a big deal. But our coaches, I think it just shows how important leadership is, because our coaches here, they did not foster confidence in us. They wanted to break us down constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they were having wins over and over. I benched for varsity, but I played. We had three teams: JVB, JVA, and varsity. So I played on JVA my whole high school career, and we went undefeated. So my team, I was one of the captains of my team every year, and we went undefeated. I think it was our first year, which was unheard of. That
Wow.
never happened.
Yeah.
And then those girls, we got to play together for years. And then my senior year, I knew that the coach there's so much politics, and I knew that he wasn't going to pick me. I actually had overheard, I'm going to out him, but I overheard him tell another coach that I was too tiny. I'm not a big lady. I'm 4'10", and I'm like
Big.
110 pounds. Yeah, I'm not big. So, which one of my strides is probably, or like 10 of my strides is probably one of your strides. So, but he had mentioned that I was kind of too small, and I said, forget it. And so I actually went and played for the Dayton Dutch Lions, which is now FC Cincinnati here locally.
Okay.
So yeah, I said, peace out high school. I'm going to go do something a little bit more serious. And just like as a jab, like as a friendly jab, I had sent him an email, my varsity coach, and I was like, hey, I made the Dayton Dutch Lions. I'm going to be their youngest player. I'd love to see you at a game if you want to see the schedule. And then he never talked to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, it's just a poor mindset. Having small has nothing to do with skill. Messi is small too.
Yeah.
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 It's just a poor excuse to not
Yeah.
let somebody else play. Yeah, I understand
Right,
the politics.
absolutely.
It's everywhere. And that's one of the things I don't want it to stay there too, because
Yeah.
it goes everywhere, not just like you said, in this school too, in the job too, in everywhere it's the same
absolutely.
thing. So yeah.
That's the thing about ultra runners. Ultra runners look like everything. I mean, we have like super, super duper fit, and then all the way to like just like a mom that does 2 or 3 miles in a week, whatever it is. So that's the cool thing is like when you go to a start line, I don't ever rule anybody out because you don't know. You have
Yeah.
no idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing I like too. Not about who has the most nice body or who can, because somebody who doesn't look like a runner can go and compete with the elite, and just like it's nobody knows,
Right.
like that day anybody can
Right.
do anything, because it's about the sheer determination and how far, like you said, you can endure the pain.
Yep.
So if you can endure the
Yep.
pain for long, then you'll go a long way. So and
Yep.
maybe that's why I'm here too, but trying to do it, but I cannot endure pain. So we'll see.
You'll get there. Get there. And
God.
there's so many things you have to try. I have a buddy run with him, and he's like anti anything other than just like running shoes. Like he won't put a cream on his body. He won't do anything. And we ran a race together, and his quads cramped up so bad. And he looked at me and like, Abby, I don't know what to do. He's like, I'm in so much pain. And I said, okay. I was like, and me, I have it's like for tools, but it's like 3 layers, and it's like this cart, like this wheel or this suitcase I carry around. It has everything in it that I need. So I know I'm a little extra, but it keeps things organized. So the top one is medical. So I brought him over and I was like, I gave him some magnesium gel, and he was like,
Yeah.
what the heck do I do with this? I said, rub it on your legs. He put it on his legs. I swear it was like 7 minutes later. We're running. And he's like, I don't know what's in that gel, but it's fantastic. My legs are fine. I'm like, yeah. You have to test things out. You gotta try it. And the pain will subside at some point. There's a point where you just kind of forget about it. You're just like, or another problem rears its head and you're like, I have to focus now on my toe. So it's like, It just shifts. Yeah.
I need that name of that magic potion too because I'm dealing with.
Magnesium gel. It's just on Amazon. Just magnesium gel. But yeah, I send it to you.
Okay.
I'll send you. I can send you a picture of all my creams and my CBD lotions, my menthols. I use them during races. Absolutely, for sure.
Sure, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Please do that, and I'll
Yeah.
check that out because I know like what has been one of my issues when I was doing the last Berlin Marathon too. That was the one that
Mm.
blew up like a week before the marathon because I was, like I said, the tunnel vision. I was trying to run faster and faster, and then stupid, who runs
Yeah.
faster like 1 week before the marathon? This guy.
We all do it. We all do it. We're like, we want to test it, right? We want to test out our bodies before the race. We're like, I just got to make sure,
Yeah.
and then we do something stupid and we're like, ah, now I can't run the whole race I was trying to prepare for. It
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. I learned now, so but now ultras are nicer. Okay, so no, nobody cares about marathon anymore.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And
Oh.
also going back to your ultra marathon journey, you said you've been running
Yeah.
for since 2 years, right? So or 3 years. When was that
Hmm.
moment you realized that you were built for this? And also, did you ran any half marathon, marathon before that? Before you decided, oh, it's not enough for me. I need to go up high.
Yeah, I had a friend in college. She knew that I ran a lot. Like we would sit in class and talk about our running, and she was always doing marathons and half marathons on the weekends. One time she looked at me and she's like, "Abby, why don't you do something with your running?" And I'm like, "Do something? Like do something with
Yeah,
my
do
running? What do you
something.
mean?" Right? She was like, why don't you win some medals?" And I was like, "Oh." Okay, so I signed up for a my first God, I think my first race was a half marathon. It's called the Flying Pig here in Cincinnati. It's a big
It's famous, yeah. I know. I've heard of that too.
yeah, I went into it like I trained really hard and I went into it and I remember being at the start line and being like, "Oh crap. Wow, I thought I was really cool. Like I thought I was going to like, when your friends are always hyping you up and you don't really know the
Yeah,
running community and then you go to your first race and you're like, "Oh my gosh, these guys have platforms on their shoes
yeah.
and they're very fast." And I'm thinking, and it was a very hilly course. But after I finished it, I felt so accomplished. It was that feeling of when I would finish a soccer game. I felt like I had exhausted my body, I had completed a task, and I'm very task oriented. So it was good. It was a check off my
Yeah.
box. And then I got kind of like addicted after that. And then I did multiple marathons, just like every ultra runner. They're part of their story. I hated it. It was awful. It's just so boring. And I didn't really know much about trail running. I run a lot of empowered ultras, and I love that group. I love the women that run it. I don't know if you know Jennifer Russo. I think she holds the record right now for backyard ultras. She did like 400 and something miles. And then Nettie, yeah, she beat Harvey Lewis. So everyone knows Harvey Lewis. Yeah.
Yes.
Jennifer is like she's the coolest. She's the most humble runner, but she's so intuitive and so kind at all of her races. And she also, the other race director, her name's Nettie. I cannot say her last name to save my life, but she's also a very well-known runner. She's been interviewed and she has a documentary done about her on YouTube. She's great. She's really cool. So I saw that they had a women's retreat, and running is a very lonely sport. So unless you have groups, and sometimes, it's not always possible to everyone to get together and things like that. So I saw there was this retreat and I went on their retreat and I'm listening to all these ladies talk about these like 250-mile races and like all these big, I'm thinking like, what am I gonna do? What am I doing? And they really inspired me, all of them. And it was a really great weekend. I think they should absolutely do that retreat again. It was so cool. But they kind of got me into ultras. They kind of introduced the community to me, and I still talk to all those ladies. I still, Facebook and all that, and we see each other at races. It's so cool. And I actually get to run every Wednesday night. I'm part of Trail Sisters. They introduced me kind of to trails more. So every Wednesday night we go running as a group of women into the woods. So which
That's
is really
nice.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how I got into like more of the ultra side of things. Yeah, my first ultra race was a 12-hour race. I thought for some reason in my head I thought that was going to be easy. I don't know why. I thought this will be good. I can run as much as I want. We'll see what my body can do. So
Going back and looking at that first half marathon you did, and then
Yeah.
your last 100 miler that you finished, which you won, right? So
Yeah.
how did you feel, or how did you feel compared to when you started and when you are now? So how do you see yourself?
So much growth. So much growth. You cannot expedite experience. You can't. So, and that is something I have been learning because I am somebody that, like, I have a goal in mind. I'm going to just do 100 miles per hour to get there. And with ultra running, you really can't do that. You have to take day and do and progress just a little bit every time. And every race you do is like a notch on your belt. Like it is all about experience. So compared to Abby, half marathon Abby to ultra Abby, oh my gosh, way different person. I mean, completely. And also, like, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but marathons, half marathons, you're so focused on time. You're so focused on getting to the end. You're so focused on just a different culture. It's just, and I hate to say it, but it feels a little toxic. It really does, right? Yeah. And ultra running, it doesn't feel that way. We all are kind of like, hey, this sucks. We're all in pain together, you know, and we're always checking on each other. And I love that. Like, I get joked that I'm the mom of the group because I'm constantly checking on my runners at races and even outside of races. But it's like family. Ultra runners are like family, like good family. So yeah, big difference in that girl. So much growth. So different. You learn a lot. You learn a lot. Shoes are different. Gear is different. You learn a lot for sure.
Yeah, I've done a lot of podcasts with a lot of people, like I said earlier, from different backgrounds. And whenever I talk to ultrarunners, it's cool. I talked to Harry last week, and it was just like,
Oh,
yeah, it was just like, wow,
yeah.
okay. And then I talked to Lindsay and Jennifer. She also ran the Cocodona, and just like, and before
Nice.
that, I had like Milton, and he also does like 100 miler, and he was gunning for like sub 4 hour for his ultra race, and he's like super fast too. And he's like, oh god,
Crazy.
these guys do so many incredible things. Like you all are, right? You are winning things. So it's just like, wow, it just inspiring. Everybody's inspiring, and that's why I got hooked into it too, because I wanted to do ultra since last 2023 Berlin. I think I was talking to Angus, another ultra. He did the Dino Valley, and I was talking to him. Like we chat on Instagram, and I was like, bro, I think I'm gonna run ultra marathon after Berlin marathon, but that never happened. And then I talked to all these ultra runner in the podcast, and then last straw was Erin. She's like badass too. She does the same thing, and she was talking about the DNF for her, one of the races she was doing. And then I finished that day, and I was thinking like, all these people are doing this thing and pushing their body and challenging, right? How what can I do, and what the hell am I doing? So the next day there were two races I had to pick from, and I wanted to do something in Germany, and I didn't want to travel outside. So out of two races, I picked the one that has the least elevation, because I know I was not gonna be ready to do the bigger one. But still, this also one has like 1,000 meter of elevation. So, and I picked it, and I
Wow.
and I and I went and I registered it, and I was like, done deal. So I've been training for that now
Nice.
9 weeks left. So I think the more you talk about it, and then the more humble like everybody is, and there is no ego. I was talking to Harry, and
No.
he won Cocodona, and then he was like number 8 on like 2024, like number 8 ultra runner, and he's so
Yeah.
cool. I was talking to him, and I was like, oh god, he's so humble. Everybody's humble, and I was just like, okay, god, okay, I need to be part of this. I like this feeling, the yeah, it and
Well,
it
the
just
truth, let's see, the miles humble you. They absolutely humble you. They shred you. They just tear you apart, and then it's you and your feet, like it, and you gotta overcome it. So,
and like you said, competitive marathon, not everybody is going to the same thing. It's all about enduring the pain and suffering. And the main difference I found with marathon was like, everybody in marathon is so time focused. That's the main goal
so
for me too. Like I'm
yeah,
guilty of it too, because I've ran marathons, and each marathon I wanted to do better than the last one. But you cannot say that in
yeah,
ultras. Like it's
yeah,
a totally different ball game, right? You cannot go and say, I'm gonna cross this 160
yeah,
kilometer in 24 hours. Like,
yeah,
oh no, it may not work like that. So,
yeah.
and like you
Your
said,
focus is a little bit different.
yeah,
Yeah,
and also the,
yeah,
the mindset is different too. In ultras, I'm finding out that it's more about the journey and how you get to the end, and everybody is happy that you are doing it. But on
yeah.
marathons, it's a little bit different. Not one thing is bad. If you want to do marathon, that's okay. It's completely fine with it. But if you
No,
want to do,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just wanted
I
to say it
probably
like that.
should
That
say,
I just
yeah,
wanted to put it
I
like that
say,
because I don't want people to think that we hate all marathoners. So
We're
just
bashing marathoners.
yeah,
Like, no, it's the gateway drug to ultra running. So do it. Absolutely do the marathon, do the half marathon, do the 10K. And then, if you're like, that's not enough pain, then join our side.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
but I should say I'm supposed to be doing a night marathon actually this weekend. So it's
Wow.
those kind of marathons I like. It's in the woods. It starts at 6 p.m. It's called Night Owl, also by Empowered Running. So those marathons, I like those. Those are fun. Yeah, but
I mean,
the ones on the road at 6 a.m., I'm done with that. I'm not doing that.
yeah, it should be easy for you. Like, 26 is not that much compared
Yeah.
to 100. Yeah, 26
Yeah.
is like, okay, what are we eating for dinner after that? Let's go for
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
Let's do it twice. Let's do it
Yeah.
twice. And coming back at you, when I was looking at your races that you've done, and you have done literally everything, right? So you have done the fixed time events, you have the
Yeah.
trail ultras, and then you have the backyard ultras too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you are signing for the ultras, what pulls you to different types of events? Like, is that to challenge yourself and see if you can compete in the time event, or just go to the backyard and see, okay, let's see how much can I do? So, what is your mindset when you're going through and picking up races when you do it?
Yeah. So I wanted to test myself out in different settings. So 12-hour, 24-hour backyard ultra, which I love the backyard ultra. Going back for that. I'm a big fan. I thought I was going to hate it, but I actually really loved it. Part of trying all these different things, 50Ks, hundreds, is testing things out. So my 2 years into ultra running, I really honestly have been just testing the waters, putting my toe in and then trying to see. I know. So I've been trying to figure out my nutrition, which that's always the toughest part. I think a lot of guys have nutrition down better than females because our tummies are just way more delicate. I hate to say it, but it just is. So doing these races, I've been testing out nutrition because I have a guy in my family who's also my nutritionist. He's wonderful. And so he's trying to figure me out because he actually works with bodybuilders. So I am not a bodybuilder. So,
Yeah.
um, I am his hardest client because I'm vegan and I
Ooh.
am gluten free. I know it's for health reasons. Every time I say I'm vegan, everyone goes, "Oh no."
Yeah.
No, it's for health reasons. It's because I'm plant based. I'm not like, I don't want to bash vegans, but I'm plant based and I'm gluten free because I have celiac disease, which means I can't eat wheat. So, yeah, so my nutrition has been tough. I've done a lot of these races just trying to figure out what works for my nutrition. Should I be doing gels more? Can I eat grapes? What can I get a sandwich in? Things like that. We've been testing the waters, and my goal this year in doing ultras is all about stacking up miles because next year I have big plans to do some bigger races. I am really wanting to like fully emerge into the ultra world. It doesn't mean I want to I don't want to rank. I don't want like fame or anything like that. If people know my name, that's cool. That's great. But I want them to know my name because of who I am as a person and who I am as an ultra runner, not because I won first place. But I mean, I gotta say, internally, I am very competitive with myself. So when I do these races, and I'm doing a couple of them again this year, we're doing the same ones. So I'm gonna be competing with myself. I'm gonna be seeing, see what progress I've made over the year based on nutrition, based on my runs, based on everything, all the training I've done. And I'm gonna compete with that girl from last year myself and try to beat her. So that's my goal this year. But I encourage ultra runners to do all of them. Don't just do one. Don't because you might think a 24-hour sounds horrible, but then you might do it and you're like, wow, I love this. This is great. So test them all for sure.
So let me get this straight. So you have you have 1.5 longs, right? So that is your first thing.
Yes. Yes,
And
correct.
then you said you are a vegan, and then you said you cannot eat wheat.
Yes.
So where is this
I'm a mess.
energy and drive? Yeah, where is this energy and drive coming from? Because that's hard. Because like you said,
Caffeine.
literally. Oh, so no, I was like, what?
No, lots of caffeine. No, no, no.
So yeah, so
Sorry.
how does it work for you? Like, so when you're doing races, what do you take? Just purely just all gels at this point?
I do gels. So shout out to BPN. If you're a runner, you might know that nutrition group, but their stuff. There has been a lot of trying to figure out what my stomach can handle. I love their carb carb water, and I can drink it and it's electrolytes. So I use a lot of BPN. I use their gels, their Go bars, and love their Go bars too. Just overall, they're great. They're powders, but I eat a lot of grapes because grapes are really high in carbs, and also it's hydration. A little bit of sugar too. I love green grapes, so you'll see me like I'll have a little pouch and I just have all my little grapes in my pouch, and I just as I'm running, and they're easy to eat. And if you accidentally swallow one, you're gonna be okay, right? It's not gonna cause problems. So I do gels when I need a caffeine hit. I'll do a gel, but I mean I drink coffee. I do grapes. I do little sandwiches. We have done rice cakes and pretzels, but my mouth just gets really dry and it doesn't work for me, so I just chuck those in the woods so the squirrels can eat them. Yeah, I mean Rice Krispies. They actually make vegan and gluten-free Rice Krispies. So I have to always make sure that all my food is like packaged or I made it myself. I never eat at the aid stations unless I'm going to an Empower race, and Nettie, one of the race directors, she has been so sweet to me. She'll make sure that there's something there that I can have. So, which I love that. Those are the best kind of race directors. I love that. Yeah, so energy-wise, I mean, I am a mess. Yes, I have celiac. Yes, I am all these things. And I also have a touch of ADHD. So, and that powers me quite a bit. But I mean, I love the sport. I absolutely love running. And it is such a blessing that I have 2 legs. So what if I'm missing a lung? But I have 2 legs and 2 arms, and I got a body that will function and a brain that will move. And every time I go for a run, honestly, I am so thankful that I'm out there and able to do that. It's hard to complain because I know there's people out there, they would do anything they could to just go for a walk, and I'm able to run. So it's thankfulness, honestly. It's pure thankfulness.
Yeah, I know the BPN gel because I was talking to Milton and then he suggested that, and I got one of the mango purees. So that's what I
Oh, yeah.
use it sometimes. I think I still have few left, and that's what I use at the first gel. But it is very expensive here in Germany. I'm also figuring out the nutrition because it's different from running a marathon because you have to plan, and sometimes you need to eat real food when even if you're doing like a training run too. So I'm trying to learn those things. And there was a question I was going to ask. Yeah, but I forgot the question that I was going to ask you. Anyways. Okay.
Oh no. It'll come back.
Yeah, there was a question. And also running endurance races, like we talked about earlier, it's more about who can endure the most pain, right? Because mostly it's running 12 hours or like 24 hours or whatever you want to do. How are you balancing that thing when you're running the ultramarathon, and how are you building all those pain thresholds?
The pain tolerance, I mean, it's different for everyone. I have some friends that they are constantly testing that, so they're doing they're doing other things to put their body through hell, and so that they can know a threshold. I think for me personally, there truly is, like, there's no other way to say it, but there's a monster in me. There really is, and she's a little darker, and when I get into, I mean, I throw on my medal, and I'm like, all right, we are going, let's do this. So the pain, I have a really high pain tolerance. It honestly, I kind of welcome it. You have to at some point. You have to be BFFs with the pain. I know that was it Courtney DeWalter, she always talks about the pain cave. So there is a pain cave, and you have to just go straight through it. You have to find that light at the end of that tunnel and just go through it. There's no like secret to it other than reminding yourself that you're okay. Because I constantly I have like mottos that will like funnel through my head. Like my last race, I kept asking myself, what would happen if fear wasn't an option here? What if fear wasn't on the table? So I kept asking myself in different ways, how do we get rid of fear? Because it is fear. I think a lot of pain stems from the fear of getting an injury, the fear of what if I fail at this, or am I going to have long-term problems or whatnot. But honestly, I gotta say, I do think that we've pretty much done all the damage to our bodies during training. So when you're in the race, just do it. I mean, it's gonna suck. It's gonna be painful, but every time you do a race, again, it's that experience, that next level of pain. You like level up. You just have to look at it as a different kind of perspective. So I leveled up in my pain. Yeah, this is a lot worse, but I've hit that mark. So when I go do 90 miles next time, we know what this feels like. So yeah, and like for me though, I will say like my background, my history, my life, it is such a fuel for my fire to do what I do. Like I told you, like I'm really competitive with myself, and I think think about like my past self, and I just don't ever want to go back to that girl. I want to keep moving forward. And in order to have growth, there has to be pain. Pain has to be involved. So yeah, it's a lot of mental, a lot of mental.
When you talk about this threshold and then this line, and there's a little bit of thin line because something we cannot cross it. So
Right,
when you are
right, right.
so when you're training for it, or even when you're doing the race, does that ever come to your mind? Like you said, we don't want to be injured or whatever. So has there been any
Yeah,
moment where you have been like
yeah,
at the end of your threshold?
yeah. Yeah, so I did a 24-hour race last year, and my goal was to hit 100. There was actually two other runners that were trying to qualify for like Olympic qualifications. They had both planned, and I know both of them. They're both awesome people. They both were going to do like 130 miles or something like that in the 24 hours. So my goal was to get to 100. I think I was at mile like 80 something, and my body just shut down. Absolutely just crumbled. It was really hot that day. It was one of the hottest days we had ever had, and we were constantly dumping water on ourselves. And I made the mistake of getting my shoes wet. And yeah, rookie
Yeah.
mistake. Got my shoes wet. I had blisters everywhere. I mean, I went through, I think, 2 or 3 shoe changes trying to find comfort. I taped up my feet, and there was one time where I made a turn and I felt the tape on a blister just yank. And it was awful. And I remember just like gasping. And one of the runners next to me is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, but we're going to keep going." And I think I did a few more miles after that. And then my team actually went and did a loop with me. I should also say this 24-hour was a 1 mile loop. So it was so repetitive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
God.
It was, and it, you know, so mentally it was like, oh my gosh, again, you hated and loved the trail at the same time
Yeah.
because you knew it so well. And my team actually went with me on a loop, and I was not nice. I was not Abby. I was cursing, and I was just upset about everything. Everything sucked. I was like, F this, F that. And that's not really who I am. And we got back to the tent, and I sat down, and I learned now that if you are going through a moment like that, sit down, take a break, have a snack. Life lesson as well. Having a hard day, sit down, take a break, have a snack. And I think I could have gotten up and kept going, but I called it. That was the hardest race physically for me. I think it was the heat and the all the water on my feet, and I mentally was just like I was at my limit. So we packed up and went home, and I fell asleep in the bathtub. So I think it was a good choice to it was good to do that. I hated to leave. I think I still placed, honestly, which is so wild to say, but I think I still placed at that race because it was so just awful. But there's definitely times where you're just mentally or physically exhausted, and then you got to know when to call it. It can become dangerous. You have to know your body so well, and that's what training is to know your body so well that when you have that weird knee pain, you're trying to figure out, is it actually a problem, or is it just my knee aching and it's going to go away in a mile and a half, or do I just need some magnesium gel? You just don't know. So, uh, but it's a lot of testing, a lot of testing for sure.
I need to get a magic potion gel, so I'm gonna look at it out right after this thing and get it. Uh, like you do ultra, so that is very busy life because
Yeah,
when the
it's a
longer
part-time
the
job.
distance, yeah, the longer the distance, the
Yeah.
more you have to run, find time. So how do you or what does life outside your running look like, and how are you able to like balance it out in terms of the high volume? Because right now you are doing 100 miles, that is still take a lot of time to train and everything, so how do you balance everything
Yeah,
out?
balance is tough, especially, we talked earlier about how living in the United States, like, it's all about work and then you die. I mean, that's pretty much our motto here. So, and I'm a business owner. So on my property, I have a beautiful property. I've transformed it, my husband and I, and then my family as well. We've all transformed it into a dog facility. So I take care of dogs. So, and that is, everyone's like, oh my gosh, that's the best job ever.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So we run a daycare, we do boarding, I do some training on the side, and then we do pet sitting and things like that locally. So life is super busy, especially in the summertime, which is when you do a lot of your training.
Yeah.
So at least here in Ohio, because we don't really we have like 2 months out of the year that's nice weather. So everything else is just like fend for yourself. It's either raining or snowing. Yeah, but balance, I mean, it depends how you look at it. I do my best, for sure. I think the hardest part is trying to make sure I get my nutrition in a day because I'm running around different buildings and all that all day long. And I end my days, my coach, my nutrition coach, he's always like, "Oh my gosh, you have so many steps in a day." So I usually end my days like around 25,000, 30,000 steps just as a normal day. So when I add running
Yeah.
into it, it's like it's a lot. There's a lot of movement. But when you love something so much, and I love running, when you love it, you make time for it. I truly believe that. If there's, whether it's getting up at 4 a.m. and going for a run or going really late at night, I always find time for it because it's just so important to me. It's my peace. It's a lot cheaper than therapy, so it's therapy in a way. Yeah. It is
Allegedly.
very much so.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Yeah. Every runner, there's so many runners, right? We do use it as a therapy source. So, and I have a great support team. My family, when I told my mom I was doing these kinds of runs, she thought I was insane. She also thought my lungs were going to explode. So she thought I was going to die. It took a long time, took a while. And her coming to races to see what it's actually like, she just thought I was running a 7-minute pace for 24 hours. She was like, "You're going to die." And I'm like, "Yeah, I would die. That would kill me."
Yeah.
Also can't do that. Yeah, but having a support team, that's super important for sure. If there's ultra runners out there that don't have that, you've got to get into the community because I promise you there is somebody there that is going to support you. And that's what I love to do for my friends, for my trail sisters, and for the guys that I run with. We are a support team for each other, nonstop. Yeah.
That makes sense. Oh God, I just had another question.
No.
I was thinking about something. Oh yeah. So what you said you have around 25,000 steps, right? So do you also consider that when you are running and making a plan, or just when you take that into an account as well and say, okay, so I did like 25,000, then I'm still on my feet, so it still counts like a running or something because ultra is all about staying on the feet. So do you take that as a training as well?
It depends. If I have a day that's like a lot of steps, so like 30,000 or above 30,000 for my run that day, I might do something lighter, a little bit less, or I might slow down the pace. I might alter it that way. But honestly, my steps and like my day, I try to keep like that. It's like two different worlds, right? So it's like that's just Abby living, and then this is Abby running. So I keep them separate. So I guess no, I don't really factor it in. So I probably should, but I don't.
Yeah. Milton does that. So when he also walks a lot. So when he's
Yeah.
running, like he also take that his coach takes that into account too. So I think their plan is based on that. And coming back to your last race, which was the
Yeah.
High Lia 100. So you clocked
Yeah,
top
highlight, yeah.
24 hours finish. So when you were
Yeah.
going into this race, how was your pacing strategy and what happened during the race and how were things evolving?
So again, this might sound crazy, but this was actually a practice 100 for me. Yeah, because I have a 100 miler in August. I know, I have a 100 miler in August that I'm planning on like shredding that course, and it's a really tough course, the one in August. So this one, I wanted to know what it felt like to get to 100. I wanted to know what the pain was past mile 85. I wanted to know. I also wanted, because that's the highest I've gone. It's about 85 miles. So I wanted to meet that girl at 85 and say peace out, Girl Scout. We're gonna keep going. And so going into that race, I should have read the description first of all. Should have read about the race. Maybe looked up some pictures because when I got there the day before, it's about a 4-hour drive for me. I got there and we walked the course and I was like, "Oh shoot, this is really hilly." and the first half mile is like straight down and
Yeah.
in rocks. And so the course was difficult. And I talked to the race director about it, and she was like, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "It's a tough course." I thought, okay, so it's not just me, it actually is a tough course. I didn't know if it was just me complaining or, yeah. So my strategy had changed for sure. Because when I went there, and I have a little bit that I did read about it, I read that it was campground gravel roads. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, it's like crushed gravel. It's probably pretty flat. It's going to be 22 hours maybe at most. And that was not the plan. That after I got there and I did the course, I was like, okay, the plan has changed. The plan is to just finish to do 100 miles, whatever that takes. So, and technically, because of the way the course is lined up, we actually had to do 102 miles to complete it, which I didn't know
Yeah.
that until I was in the race. So, a runner came by up next to me and he was like, "Do you know we have to do 102 miles?" And I was like, "Why?"
Yeah.
"Yeah, okay, why?" It's just that's the way it was, a 3 mile loop. So that's the way the course was lined up. And we actually had a midday course change because there was a wedding happening at the
Oh,
park.
sweet.
So we had to do a course change, and the course change was really hard. There was no running it. It was like it was like half of a single track lane, and it was just straight downhill. I mean, it was so tough. So yeah, went with a mindset of like, hey, I'm gonna do this in 20 to 22 hours was my goal. And then I got there and was like, all right, we're just gonna finish it. And so I was really happy to be done in under 24 hours. I think it was like 23 hours and some change. I was very happy to be done with that. I felt okay at the end, so I knew that, I hadn't given it 100%. I knew I had left a little in the tank just in case. So it was a lot of walking. It was a really good learning experience for me, and it was the perfect training for my next 100 that's coming up.
And also, you said that before that, like 85 mile, when you had to quit the race. So when you were at that moment, and then when you crossed that and said, okay, because that might have been your like something in back of your mind, right? 85 has been the previous threshold that you completed. So
Yeah.
how did you felt after that when you passed the 85 mile? It's like, okay, I did it, or just like, okay, this I got this. Or what? How were you feeling at that moment?
Yeah. I felt a rush of fear because it was new territory. And I had to remind myself, Abby, what would happen if fear wasn't a factor? What would happen if fear didn't exist? So I had to, like, every step I was taking, it was like I became hyper aware of every step. I kind of became hyper aware of like trying to feel out my body, be in tune with it. I think I did that for at least 5 to 10 miles. And then I know I made a video at some point. You kind of hallucinate. Not hallucinate, but you kind of just like, you're just different. And I apparently had made some videos on my phone. I found those later after the race, and I was just a dork. I mean, absolutely stupid. I was recording gravel, and I was like, this is where I saw a turtle earlier. You kind of have to find something to distract yourself to get you out of that fear mindset. And I got the opportunity to talk to some other runners that were there too. That was really cool. I always love learning about the other runners. I love hearing their stories and like how they got into running or the races that they've done. So we always do, right? We always get
Yes.
caught talking. Yeah. So I just had to power through, and I just kept thinking about getting that buckle. First of all, I wanted a buckle so bad, a buckle and a banana. Got both
Yeah.
of those.
Yes.
But it's like kind of our joke, right? As ultra runners, we do all these miles just for a banana and a buckle. But it was just getting through, just facing the fear and saying like, I'm done with you. I'm going to push you to the side. You no longer have a space in my head and my body, and I'm going to keep on moving. Yeah. And also, if you can find some like fun music, definitely recommend. I don't know if you know of Lonely Island, but it is like you'll have to look them up. And anybody who knows Lonely Island is probably giggling right now because they take songs and it's like jokes. It's like parody songs.
Okay.
So something like funny like that when you get to higher mileage is good. It just gets your brain out of this mindset of this sucks. What am I doing? Why questioning your life choices? Yeah.
So in the topic, when you are doing this long endurance event, like, do you have to take your mind off? And how important it is that you do this self-talk, and like you said, you constantly said the fear is not an option and something like that. So, and sometimes we go to that narrow road, when we were just talking down to ourselves, and when we doubt everything, like you said, it sucks and everything sucks. I hate this thing. I hate this. Like the blisters, like if you have
Yeah.
blisters, then that is kind of a suck. It
Yeah.
sucks too. So how do you get out of that when you are going to that path sometimes, which is very difficult?
Yeah. Well, I've learned now, like I said, sit down, have a snack, take a break. I mean, if you need to take a nap, that's the cool thing about ultras is that you actually can. If you need to set a timer for a 5-7 minute power nap, you can do that. I know. Shoe changes. Never underestimate a shoe change. Oh my gosh. It will give you new life. And that I set goals to look forward to. So as a dog trainer, like, we reward our dogs when they do something. It's kind of the same mindset. I reward myself. So like,
Okay.
say I'm at mile 80 and I'm like, all right, I'm going to make a deal. I'm going to make a deal with myself. At mile 90, I get to have a cola, or at mile, so whatever entices you. Yeah, or you're thinking like, wow, I'm really shutting down, let me get 2 more miles in and then I'll have some caffeine. But yeah, it is a lot of like talking to yourself. It is a lot of talking yourself off the ledge. I know. And also like when you go into a race, you have to know, like, am I going to allow myself to do this race with full authority to possibly leave it, or am I going to do this race and not leave until it's done? So I think that mindset really matters going into the race. And then also, I did this when I was in soccer. This sounds crazy, but like if you stop and you sit and I know, you sit and envision yourself crossing that finish line, doing that mileage, envision. If you need to sit down in the middle of a race and do that, you can if you have the mental capacity for it. But I used to do this with soccer. I used to sit down and envision the way a game would go, and envision how I would shoot a goal, or how I would make a pass or do a trick or whatever it may be. I would sit and envision that. And same thing for running. If you can stop, sit, and envision it, I really do think if there's something in your mind, it'll like keep it there, and your body responds to that, and your body's like, oh yeah, I remember that image, I remember envisioning that, I got to get to that point. And then your body will just automatically take over and do what it's supposed to do to get you to that point. Yeah, a lot of mind body work.
That's a very good tip that we all can keep in mind when we are going through this pain.
We're going to see all these runners sitting on the side meditating
Yeah,
and envisioning envisioning
yeah,
their wins. I hope
it's
so. You should.
yeah, that's yeah. I'll keep that in mind next time, because last time I did, like I said, my quad was hurting too. When I did 24 kilometers last weekend. I'm still going back on my mileage. I like before I used to run a lot, but now I'm slowly going back to it, and God, it sucked. And like I
Yeah.
said, the heels, oh God, I don't know what will I do this weekend. I need to plan a little bit better, because first 5 kilometers were super flat, last 5 were super flat,
Yeah.
but the last 14 were like hell. So I need to figure out
Yeah.
how I can make it easier, and maybe do extra little bit of more loop. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is not fun, because the hill were like 12 to 14% grade, so it was very
Oof.
hill.
Oof.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
it was too much for very less time. So I need to figure out how I can do this.
Yeah. I always, when I'm in a point where like I'm running and I feel like I need a break, but I don't want to walk, I do this thing called baby shuffles or baby steps, we call them. And they're just little tiptoes, just tiptoes. And I don't look at my watch, I don't look at the pace, I don't look at anything. It's just to get out of that mindset of like, wow, I'm in pain. Wow, I can't believe I've been running for 19 hours. It's like this, right? It's just, it's still moving forward. Forward is the goal. Like, I remind myself that all the time too, that forward is the goal. But like, even when I'm running with my guy friends and we are all tired, we've hit a certain mileage, and I look at them and I'm like, all right, it's time for baby steps. And so we just baby step it out. And it's learning all those little things like that and everyone's different, right? We all have different cues, we're all programmed differently. So try some baby steps. That might do it.
Okay. Yeah, this weekend I have to run like Friday. Friday is my long run, so I'm gonna try and see what happens.
Yeah.
And also going back to you again, you did a 50K race as well, which you won, right? So,
Yeah.
and when you were doing that 50K, like compared to 100 mile, it's like nothing. So
No, it's nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's nothing. But so what went right in this training in terms of training, like execution, the conditions and mindset, like were all those like on the ballpark that you were looking for that race?
So my buddy Matt and I actually did it together. We, again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but it was a training run for us. So, uh, yeah, That's the other thing, ultra runners, we do 50Ks and whatnot as training sources. That race was hard because of the conditions. It rained the whole time and it was cold, very cold rain. And the trail that we ran, it was nice. It was quite nice. And I bet it would be really nice without rain. But because there were so many runners there, we turned it into a mud pit. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh God.
it was impossible. It was the kind of mud that it was not possible to run. It was like taking our shoes off kind of mud. And I think you're going to talk with Alec Klein another time.
Yep.
So he was there. I love him. He was there and he's just hip hopping. He's just going. I mean, he did it in like 2 hours or something stupid. He's wicked fast. But and he was just gliding on the mud, and he would pass me, Matt and I, we'd be like, what in the world, how is he doing this? So for that one, the conditions, it was good training. It was really good training because of the conditions. There was even a hill that us runners had turned into a creek by about hour 3. So it was not a creek starting out, and then we're going uphill and it turned into a creek. It was wild.
Dang.
But yeah, it was so muddy. It was very muddy for that course. There was no shoe change. There was no changing of
Yeah.
anything. It was just kind of like everything is stuck on you. Leave it as it
Oh,
is. And I'm a big believer in toe socks. And probably a lot of ultra runners will cringe at that, but I love my toe socks. They have kept me from blisters. I have learned so much. So highly recommend toe socks of any kind, whatever you're comfortable with. Those kept my feet clean for that race especially, but all my races it's done pretty well. Yeah, for that race it was just getting through it. We were so happy to be done at the end of it, and we got the opportunity, thankfully. There was a shower there, so we all got to, like, you can go
nice.
shower afterwards. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not going to let us come back though, because that bathroom was a muddy
Messy and all.
mess. And
Yeah.
yeah, whoever owns that park that we went to, I don't know if they're going to let him ever have that race there again, because we shredded that course. It was so bad.
Yeah. I can
Oh,
imagine
I don't
that.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they should have thought about that. We need a shower after
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do it.
yeah. Right, yeah. I think if I think Alec got it done quicker before all the mud got worse. I told my friend Matt, I was like, man, we should have just like gunned it, because we could have avoided all this mud. We should have just gone bonkers on it, because we could have been done and not be trudging through all this mud that just got worse and worse every hour. Yeah.
That's one strategy is to just run like it's a 5K, so it's okay.
Yeah. Just go
Uh,
for it. Just
and we also talked about this, right? So you do so many things. Like you said, you do the time event and then you do this 100 miler thing. And you said you like the backyard ultra, and it's
yeah.
very different, right? Because you loop, you don't do, you pretty much loop at it and then you keep going back it and come back it. So how do you prepare for these kind of events? Because where the race will stop when you stop, until you say I'm gonna go, and you just keep going and going. So when you're training for it, how do you prepare for something like this?
So I go early to a park. There's a park down the road from me. It's pretty flat. That's how I train for my backyard. I parked my car early in the morning. I brought coolers with me and a chair. And I would set my watch to an hour, and I would do 4 miles. And I would see, oh, I got 10 minutes. I'll sit in my chair. I'll eat. And I did that for hours, because for some runners, not all of us, but me especially, because I have background in soccer, and because I did marathons, and that time is like so instilled in my head that like I have to hit a certain pace. I have a hard time slowing down. So that was a really good, and ultra running, that's not good. You got to learn how
Yeah.
to go slower. Yeah, because you'll die. So doing that kind of training was really good for me mentally, because then I was like, I literally was be on the phone with my mom, and I'm like doing like a 10-minute pace or whatever it is, and we're just talking while I'm just doing my loops. And then I'd sit down, have a snack, and then I got 2 minutes, hit the watch again, and we do it over and over and over. So that's how I trained for it. I only did that one time because I didn't want to overexhaust my body and my mind with that kind of style of training. But just putting in the miles, I always try to do like a soft practice of how a race is set up. I think that's really good for the mind. It's the mind body connection again. It's to teach that body that that's what you're doing that day. Yeah.
And also, we may have talked about it that you have done some races like we talked about earlier where you have to cap that 85 mile because
Mm-hmm.
You had blisters and everything. So when you finished that race and when you went home, were you upset with yourself, or were you just like, oh God, I didn't do it, I didn't finish the job, or like how were you feeling after that, or it was just like, thank God it's finished, now I can chill and just relax?
Well, immediate feeling is relief because you're done, right? But then again, I'm super competitive with myself, and the people around me know that, and they all knew that I was going to be really hard and angry on myself, and I was. And the ladies that were at that race, I saw them, the week following or whatnot, and they were like, you could have done it. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Thank you so much. I know. I'm aware. So I was pretty pissed after that race because but like I sit back and I'm like, wow, I really could have finished it. I could have just sat down and had a break and could have finished it, whether it was walking or whatever. But I was so stubborn that I didn't want to walk it. I didn't want to do it. I had visioned it a certain way and I wanted to do it that way. Now, saying that, now as who I am as an ultra runner, I've learned that I've learned so much from that. Like that, I've taken that race and I've really kind of applied it to all my big races now, to check in with my body, to know if I really am, my check engine light is on, if it's really dangerous or if it's just me needing to have a snack. So, but yeah, no, I was super angry, super upset with myself after that race, and it put fuel to my fire to do better. That's the goal. I'm always competing with Abby. So I always want to do better at each race, no matter what.
So after that incident, right? So that thing was probably you could have done, you didn't do. So what does
Yeah.
it take for Abby to stop now?
Oh no, that's not happening. Other than an injury, which I've been really blessed to not really have injuries. After that 100 miler, I've been having some knee problems with my left, which now I'm going to be going to
Ooh.
PT for. So that's new. That's new for me.
Yeah.
So, but the comeback kid is always stronger. So I plan for my comeback to be pretty strong. So to stop me, honestly, I don't want to limit myself. I don't want to put any limitations or caps on myself whatsoever. I truly believe internally that I can do anything, and I don't foresee me ever stopping unless God says stop, unless he's like, "Hey, chill out. There's some other things you need to do." I'll always listen to what he wants me to do with my life, but yeah, definitely I'm not gonna stop myself from anything, from any opportunities.
Okay. And also, let's say you said that 100 miler was a training for you. So now when you go line up for that next race in August,
Yeah.
when you're going there, so when you are going for that race, do you have a time goal for it, or are you most focused on adapting as you go and see things in the course?
Of course, I have a time goal internally, and that may change because I've heard how awful this course is. I've
Oh
heard
no.
that the elevation, I know, I had a friend, I don't know if it's correct or not, but he told me it was like 24,000 feet of elevation gain. So, which would
Which
be
race is
quite a
it?
bit. I mean, it's called East Fork.
Okay.
It's like the Cincinnati area. So East Fork Park, I've been there before. I've run a little bit there. I need to do more of it. That's the plan before August. But I mean, goal before I did this 100, my goal was to do it in 24 hours or less. I've kind of set a like a large goal. Like my big goal would be trying to do it in 22, 23 hours maybe. If I beat that, phenomenal. If I don't, I think there's like a 30 or 40 hour cutoff.
Okay.
So they are aware that it is quite a hard course. It's a lot of climbing. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. My big goal, yes, time is important, but like for that race, I am really focused on trying to rank for that one. Would I love to beat all the guys? Absolutely. That would be super cool. And I think the ladies that run the race would do everything in their power to assist me along the way to make that happen. So that's like the dream goal, but definitely would love to be first female if I can. And then if that doesn't work out, then we're going to go to our time, maybe reduce the time a bit, or so the goal is to be more competitive, I would say, in that race than anything else. Much more competitive than my last one.
So let's say right now you have this goal, first female you want to be, or first overall that you want to be,
Oh, sure.
and
Yeah.
then like less than 24 hours, then beat practically PR the last rate. So how would you take the
Yeah.
setback in this particular moment? Because when you have set yourself such a high standard, and when you don't get that
Mhm.
goal, then how do you react to it? You'll be more pissed, or you're gonna be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, course was too think there is nothing I can do. So how would you react?
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. Yeah, because I'm focused on just
Yeah.
trying to do what I want to do. But if that were to happen, I'm sure there was a learning lesson in it, and I need to take that away from that race and apply it to the next one. I've got a ton of other races after that, so what is it? There's a quote. It's that success is not final and failure is not fatal. So failure is in the eyes of the beholder, right? So I'm not gonna look. I don't ever look at my races as a failure. I might get pissed off or get angry about it, but I'm not a failure because I didn't finish that finish line or didn't cross it, or because I didn't do the hours that was required for the race. I'm not a failure because of those things. I'm actually, again, I'm just building my resume for my next ultra. That's how it is. Ultra running, you just never know what the day is going to hold. You have no idea. And sometimes, you're in a mile, whether it's mile 75 or mile 1, and your brain is just saying, like, this is awful. And in that moment, in those times, I always kind of remind myself that this mile is a lie. Like, if it's not going well, I'm like, this mile's not real. It's a lie. It's not actually happening. We're going to get through it, and then we're going to see what happens on the other side of that. Yeah. So I think a lot of times there are some runners that will quit too soon. I was in that category too. When I did that race, I quit too soon. So we have to just we have to change our perspective and just be so focused on the what if. Yeah. So I won't be too mad with myself, hopefully, if that doesn't happen. But we'll see when we get there.
I was remembering the quote while you're talking about it. I always, like, when I'm putting the quote out, I say that failure is the stepstone for the success. So that's why,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's why I signed
yes.
up.
We have to
I,
fail.
yeah, and I signed up for this alter. I don't know what will happen, right? So, like you said, I could DNF whatever. So this is my experience, and I want to see if I can do it. If I cannot do it, then I'll
Yeah,
try for it again and go for it again
yeah,
and again, and
yeah.
eventually I'll finish it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's the goal
Yeah,
for me to.
yeah,
And we talked about that. So let's talk about your race in August that's coming up. So right now you are
yeah.
training for it. So how does your peak week look like prior to the race, and what kind of volume and everything that goes around for that particular training?
Yeah, I always do too much. That's what it looks like, which I always get reprimanded for. Because I have a lot of energy. So, and I feel like I can't rest at night unless I get my energy out. That's that touch of ADHD that just won't
Yeah.
stop. So, yeah. But I do a lot of biking as well. Kind of give the legs a break from just hitting the pavement instead of just rotating. Um, I try to rest as much as possible. I'm still getting all my steps in. But nutrition is the most important thing that week. So, like, for example, the 100 miler I just did, the 3 days leading up, I had very strict macros that I was supposed to follow, which I did follow to a T. I'd get up in the morning, I'd plan out my whole day for food, and I send it off to my nutrition guy, and he's like, yep, looks good. Or he'd be like, nope, bring that down. So, and that looks different for everyone. For me, it was reducing my fats and proteins leading up, and then just constantly upping my carbs. So that's the most important thing for me going into race day. Because, I mean, you're 5 days or 7 days out from a race. There's only so much training. You've done the training. It's done. So only thing you can really control during that week is your food and then how much energy you're giving or keeping. So that's my focus before a big race.
Now you talked about nutrition. I just remembered I was talking to Harry, like I said earlier, and he said something that he uses during the race. It's custom made, so all the ingredients on it are based on what he needs. So he's still
Wow.
playing out with it. So he said that has been his biggest thing this time when he was doing the Corona 250 was he was
Yeah.
being aggressive and trying these things. So he said, I forgot the name of the company though, but there is some company
Yeah, yeah.
that gives you the
Fixed to make.
custom made nutrition that's
Yeah.
based on like all the salts and carb and whatever you need. So that might be something
Whoa.
for it too. So I don't
That
know.
cannot be cheap at all. My gosh. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, but that is what he was trying. And now coming back to this ultra and then this mindset, like running origin is not hard because you need to be able to endure pain for hours and hours and hours, because it's just not like a marathon where you're like, oh, I can run with broken leg for like 5 hours. But if you cannot. So
Don't do that, no.
yeah, how? Oh yeah, that's a bad
Don't
example.
do that. Nobody go do that, please.
Yeah, but like when you're coming to these big distances, like how is the mindset when you're coming off and when things go sideways? Like we talked about this a few times about the inner talk, right? So, but when things go south, how do you get the focus back in?
So I do a couple of things. I got a couple of things in my arsenal that I'll try out, and if they don't work, we go to the next one. So it's really good to have those like options. One of them is calling my mom.
Oh,
So when I get deep into the miles, especially when I'm in the dark in the middle of the woods, being a tiny female, I know I'm safe. I know I'm okay because it's a race and all that. But sometimes you still, you're still kind of vulnerable at that time because you're also tired. Someone tries to chase me, I'm not going very far. It's not
yeah.
it's not happening. So I call my mom. Her voice is so, I don't know, it's like it lifts me up every time. And I'll get her to tell me about her day. I'm like, so what's going on with you? And she'll tell me about her day, and it gets my mind, into this kind of like comfort zone where you've been out of that comfort zone for so long, and then for you to get just a spoonful of it, it's like you've been replenished. So calling my mom is one of them. I don't really get on my phone much. I don't check things. I don't get on, because I don't want to be distracted. But of course, food. Like I said, a little snack, a little something special, something sweet. But I also remind myself that this is temporary. Pain is temporary. And I also say, like, this too shall pass. So I remind myself that this leg pain or my back is killing me, whatever it may be from going up hills and whatnot, or the rocks on my feet, this too shall pass. This is temporary. This pain will subside at some point. And then there always is a cycle somewhere in my brain that logs that, hey, Abby, if you just get this done, you can be done. If you just, we can go take a bubble bath. If you just go get this done. So shuffle your feet a little faster. Let's get to the finish line. So again, I'm rewarding myself for for doing the hard work. That's pretty much a
When you're
little
talking
couple things that I do.
when you're talking about that, I was remembering the quote for Tom Hanks. Remember the
Oh
Tom Hanks,
yeah,
the
yeah.
famous quote like "This shall pass." If you're what you're feeling right now, I was
Yeah.
just like remembering that.
Yes.
And also
Absolutely.
coming back to this same endurance thing, how does your recovery look like? So let's say when you did that 100 miles, how did your recovery was going after that big effort?
So I'm really big on recovery. I think it's one of the most important things for runners, and I think it's a lot of things that runners skip. We also skip weight training. So calling out all those runners, right? If you're
Yeah,
skipping weight training and you're having injuries, I wonder why.
yeah.
So recovery is really important. You're sweating. Yeah, recovery is super important. So I have a little bit of a team. I have found professionals in my area. So I have a chiropractor that I go see. I actually have two chiropractors. They both are kind of different. So I have two chiropractors that I see. And then they also there's something called a flow presso machine. It's like a big blood pressure cuff for your whole body. It helps with inflammation. It is heat, and it just constantly goes up and down, and it helps with inflammation. So it helps with your recovery time. Very blessed that my mom she has a sauna in her house.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
My mom, she battled breast cancer a few years ago, and she did it fully naturally. And so we put a sauna in her house. So I have full access to that, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, recovery is super important. And it's not just spa treatments. It's also making sure that when you're going for your next run that you're not overdoing it. It's watching that heart rate. It's making sure that you're being in tune with all the little aches and pains that are happening and making sure that they're not anything serious. So, but my number one, like, I say it all the time, I joke with people, but like my number one thing, baths. If you're not taking baths, you need to be doing it. After a big race, take 2 to 3 baths after that race, like the same day. I'm telling you, your recovery will skyrocket. Take a nice hot bath.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but recovery, that's a non-negotiable for me. It is important to recover, and I think that's why I've been able not to have major injuries and been able to continue my cycle of doing these big races is because I've taken care of myself afterwards.
I also like to take bath right after my long runs. I do hot bath and then I
Yeah.
immediately do the cold bath too. That way,
Oh gosh, good for you.
yeah,
Oh, that
yeah.
scares me. Yeah.
I mean, it's not super cold though. It's not super cold, but I still do.
Yeah.
It's cold enough to that way. I am
Yeah.
like cooling myself down too. So yeah, I did my certification on the running coach, and then that's like there's this myth that says, oh, if something happens and put ice pack, and I'm like, no, 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 don't put the ice pack. Just put the heat pad because you need to get more
Yeah.
blood through it, and that will fix it. And
Yep.
yeah, I'm in a couple of
Absolutely.
running group chats, and they talk about this, and like I'm putting ice pack, and I'm like, no, 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 no,
No, no,
don't
no,
put
no,
yeah,
no. Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
wrong.
well, that's what we're taught, though. That's what
Yeah.
we're taught when we're younger is like put ice on it for inflammation. And honestly, inflammation's not a bad thing. Inflammation is the body trying to cushion that area, that injury. It's trying to take care of it. So I'm not saying produce inflammation, but if your body's holding inflammation, it's not actually a bad thing. Your body's doing its job. You just gotta take the time it needs to recover from that.
Yeah, yeah. And also in this topic, right? So you talked about the recovery and we talked about the training and everything. Since you're doing these bigger events where you have to run for so many hours, have you ever
Yeah.
been able to hit that burnout? And how do you recognize it? And once you are there, like saying, okay, this is a burnout, and how do you change?
I've had burnout with training before, and when that happened, I've had bouts of it, we all do. But when I feel that coming on, I remind myself I need to go do something fun. That means life's a little too heavy. That means that work might be a lot, and then adding my running on top of it, it just means that things are a little bit too heavy. So we need to go have some fun, whether that's going out for margaritas or go whatever that might be for somebody, or maybe it means taking a week that I don't take my training so serious. Maybe that means I go for more bike rides that week, or maybe I go do hot yoga, or maybe we decide that my runs are going to be slower this week just because I can, because I want to do, because that's what my mind needs. So if anyone is experiencing burnout, if they're like currently experiencing it, you got to go through it. I mean, you have to just sit down. You don't quit. Do not quit. Just level back or find something fun to do and then keep moving forward. And it'll pass. This too shall pass. It will pass for sure.
And in the topic, you talked about this pain and everything, right? So, what is your relationship with pain during a race? Because obviously, we'll go through rain, like we'll go through
Oh, yeah.
pain eventually, right? So, when you have this pain, do you listen to it, say, "Oh God, yes, I'm in pain," or you're like, "No, I need to fight through it," or you just like, "Okay, this is just like this shall pass." So, how does your mindset work in when you are, or what is
Yeah.
your relationship during this thing?
So it's phases, right? It's like mild pain. Okay, there's a little more pain, and then it's like excruciating. There's phases. When it starts, I'm like, oh, there she is. That I know that one. I'm familiar with that. You become friends with it. You really do. And for me, sometimes that's the time I put music in and I just kind of zone everything out and I focus solely on my music. And I like to also do music where I know the words so that I can like anticipate the words. I can sing it in my head so that it completely takes my mind off of whatever might be in pain. But it just comes in waves. You can't take it too serious and you just keep on pushing. And again, I go to a race and I'm like, I came here to complete this. I came here to do this. This is what I need to do. Am I going to allow this pain, whatever it may be, am I going to allow it to control my future? And most of the time the answer is no. So only way to let it go is to go through it. That's pretty much it. And it's practice. It's just all that practice of doing it.
You are doing these distances. What is driving you, and why are you doing this?
Well, I have a lot of driving factors. Part of it is there's not a ton of women in this sport. I mean, there's a good amount, but this is a male dominant sport like a lot of sports are. And I have such dreams and hopes that I can, not that like I want to beat the boys, but like I want women to know that at my size, which is not big, and at my abilities, that you can do these things. You absolutely can. Do not put yourself in a box. You have to get your mindset out of that box. You have to get your body out of that box. And I think there's so many women with such great potential and they aren't even touching that potential. They're not even like poking the bear of it yet because they're just too scared to. So I hope that when women see me out there, even guys too, because like I got a lot of guy friends that I run with too, but I would hope that when they see me, that they would be like, wow, that girl can do it. I probably can too, right? Whenever it's really funny because whenever I do go to a race and my husband and everyone's setting up the tent, they always go straight to him and they're like, "Hey, what are you running?" They never come to me ever, and he's like, "Oh, I don't run." He's like, "Absolutely not. I'm not crazy." He does not run, so he's like, "Oh, we're here for her," and then they see me and they're like, "Oh, you're running?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." And then I get first place or whatever it may be. And they're like, "Wow, that was really cool." And I'm like, "Yeah." So my hope is that I don't want to sound like haughty, but like I hope that whatever my story is, I hope that it inspires others. Because that, at the end of the day, that's what I want. I want more runners. I want to encourage more people. I want to see more female ultra runners. I want to compete with them. I want to cheer them on. I want to build the community of this. Absolutely. Because it's a pretty
And
cool community.
it is, and you just brought this up, and I remember the conversation with Erin when she was talking with one of the patients she was working with, and she's an ultra runner, and obviously we
Mm.
talked about running, and it always comes up, right? When you're running, it's like, oh, I'm ultra, and there was some kind of remark saying,
Oh, yeah.
oh, you run ultras or whatever. So what would you say to those people who are so ignorant, right? Because they will just look for type, and there is no such type in ultra runner, because
Right.
everybody would
Right.
surprise you in the ways that you can never even think of. So what would be one thing you would say to all those ultra runner who want to do things or maybe want to do ultras,
Mm-hmm.
and but they, because of the size of their body or whatever, or this
Mm-hmm.
norm that a person should look like a certain type to do ultra runner, what would you say to those persons who want to jump to this horizon but been limiting themselves because of what other
Right.
person would say to them?
Right. I would say, who gives a flying F what other people think? Who cares? I mean, seriously, are you going to allow other people to dictate your future? Really? That's how I feel about it. I didn't let coaches when I was younger dictate my future for soccer. I'm not going to let anybody dictate it now. Also, like, as humans, we are capable of so much more than we think. I think that's one thing, and it always kind of breaks my heart when I hear people like they cap themselves at a certain place, or like, I can't do any more than that. And I'm like, but can you? I think you can. I promise you can. We don't have to do it in an unsafe fashion. We can practice and we can train and all that. But don't tell yourself, I can't do this. We are so capable of so much more. What's that song? Is like, we were built to live, or made to live for so much more, but we lost ourselves. I forget the band. Someone's gonna know it and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, it's an old song. But we were made to live for so much more, and we lose ourselves in day to day life, in social media. Oh, social media. We lose ourselves in comparison of others.
Yeah.
And we're individuals. I don't know why we're comparing ourselves with other people when you are an individual. Like, everyone was perfectly made in the image of who they are right now. So don't lose sight of that. And if you want to be a better person, or you want to be a better runner or a mom or a better dad, whatever it is, do it. Just do it. Just lay down the false lies and just go do it.
And also, what do you wish more people would understood about ultra running,
Mm,
and or like what kind of people are choosing to do this, because it's a very different sport, right? So like we talked about doing
yeah.
5Ks, 10Ks or whatever, then it's a totally different ballgame than doing 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, 250 kilometers. So
Yeah.
what would you wish like people understand more, like what the ultra running is all about?
I think for me, I would hope that they would learn how much we put into this sport. It is not just I go do a few miles every week and then I go run, 60 miles. We don't do that. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of dedication. So my hope would be that people would just be more, I don't want to say caring, but almost like caring of our sport. Because, I'll talk to people and they're like, "Oh, you run?" I'm like, okay, like, we all can do that. And I'm like, oh, no, we can't all do it. It takes a special mindset. It takes, like we said, enduring, who can endure the longest in the pain threshold. It takes all of your effort to do whatever the mileage may be, 30 miles to 250 miles, whatever. It takes all of that. And so my hope would be that other people would be more kind to us in our sport just because you can't see us on the TV playing basketball, or because, ultra running is not like this big. We said there's not money in it. There's really not, unless you get like sponsored. And I don't even think there's a lot of money in being sponsored. I don't know. I'm not sponsored, so I don't know. But it's a bunch of crazy people running around on dirt roads, doing, I think, one of the hardest things. I really do think running is one of the hardest sports. Yeah. So maybe just like not brushing off our sport as just like running. Oh, you're just run. That quote. Yeah.
And in this topic, so let's say somebody has listened to this episode so far, and then you have to tell somebody who's listening, and they are thinking, oh God, this Abby girl, she's badass and she has inspired me to be this ultra runner. And like, but they are like, oh, I don't know if I can do it, or I don't know if I can do this. So what would you tell them at this moment when they're listening to you, and what would be their advice?
I'd say come run with me. Let's go. Open invitation. I've got a wonderful property. I've got plenty of rooms if you're not from Ohio. Please don't be crazy. But like, come run with me. And this is so tough because like I'm not like naturally good at making friends. I work with dogs for a reason. So finding a community is so important. I would highly recommend, if somebody is doubting themselves, to find a running community of some kind. And if it doesn't exist, guess what? You have the opportunity to make a running community. What a fantastic opportunity. You just go make a Facebook page, right? And then everyone joins it. And then you set times and that's it. You have a running community. I would say that would be my first recommendation, would be go find people like-minded like you and go run with them. Whatever that pace may look like, whatever those trails or roads may look like, just go do that. I would start there and encourage each other. It's so important to try to find the positive in things. We can find the negative in anything. It's just in us naturally as humans to just be negative natured. So being positive, it takes work, which is another thing that ultra runners, we have to work on with mindset. We have to work on that. So I would say trying to be positive as much as possible with yourself and your progress, and then trying to find a community to uplift you and support you as well. And then you support that person too, for sure.
Awesome. So we just got two things left. So I have this
Sure.
quick rapid fire round. So I'll just ask you a bunch of questions, and
Okay.
then you can just answer me whatever thing first comes to your mind. So road or trail, what's your true love?
Oh, I love them both. We'll say trail.
One race you would drop everything to run tomorrow.
Leadville 100.
Most clutch piece of gear you own.
Oh no. I'd say my hats. I love my hats.
What's your go-to pre-race meal or snack?
Oh, rice, avocados, and because I'm vegan, mushroom chicken. I know that sounds awful to other people, but it's mushroom chicken.
Worst bunk story. One line and go.
Stupid hot weather and blistered feet.
Power hike or grind it out. What's your move on a steep hill?
Oh, pray. That would be my answer. Pray. Just pray. Just put your head down and pray. Yep.
Music, podcast, or silence when you are on your long runs?
Music, and I do metal, I do rock, and Big Plug the X, I do a lot of rap. Yep.
So, what's your hell no race that you would never sign up?
Oh gosh. Anything that's triathlon, I think I would not sign up for. I can't swim. Yeah. Anything that's triathlon or anything that those Ironmans, not doing that. No, I'm not doing that.
So, dream pacer or running partner, it can be anybody who is dead or alive, just one.
Okay, I would say Jennifer Russo, just because I love her so much. I haven't got to pace with her. I would love that.
One word that describes how ultra makes you feel.
Free.
All right. So, one final thing I usually ask is to everybody. So, I would
Yeah.
like you to please finish this sentence. Running has changed my life because.
I'm a better person through each mile.
Oh, wow. Short and sweet. All right. I think this was fun. And thank you so much for
Good.
giving your time
Yeah.
to talk and share about your journey. And it's really inspiring and interesting, and because if you hear the whole story, then it's like really really awesome that you have gone through and you're kicking ass now, and then you are fighting against to win against men and conquering all these ultras, and it's
Heck
really
yeah.
Yeah, like even with your like 1.5 heart, you are doing all these incredible distances, and that's really inspiring. So yeah, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you doing
Yeah.
this with me.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. This has been great. Anytime you want to run, let me know. Anytime I'm in Berlin, I'll let you know for sure.
Yes, yes, we can do not ultras, but we can run few kilometers, few.
Park runs. We'll go do some park
Yeah,
runs.
we can
Yeah.
do park runs, or we can
Yeah.
do trail runs.
Yeah.
Not a lot of distance, but we can do it.
Sure.
All right, yeah.
Absolutely.
So see
Anytime.
you next time. We can probably swing back again after you do the rest in August and see how we do, and then we can talk
Sure.
about it. Okay, awesome,
Well,
and thank you
that's
so much,
great. Sounds good. All
and
right.
bye bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thank you for making it to the end of the podcast. I hope you really enjoy this conversation. I'll see you again next time with another guest. Until then, happy running.